Burley Sew.
Hello, and welcome back to Burley Sew. I'm your host, Purified, and today I've got a do-it-yourself project, how to take an old table and turn it into a flatbed sewing table. Alright, so jumping right in, the first thing I need to tell you is that I didn't think to record this project right when I started it, and I formed the pan that you see there on the left previously, and I'm going to attempt to walk you through how I did that. It wasn't very difficult at all. I basically had an old heater laying around, and it was worthless, and it had a flat metal sheet cover on the back of it, and that's what this is. I put some forms into it, some bends, and I'll show you exactly how I did that. Alright, so if you can picture this pan flat, that's the way it was when it started. I basically took my machine, I found the center of the pan. It just so happens that this pan just fits. It was the perfect size, that's why I took the back off. But I marked it down the center. It even has the holes already marked in the center. That was luck as well. But I scored the middle, drew a line down the center, and then I started measuring over, about a half an inch or so to give it some room on each side of the machine. And then I also figured out the height of the wall, which is basically taking from the bottom to the top of the machine. And here, let me go ahead and take this machine off of here real quick. Now you can see where I marked the lines to mark my bends that I was going to make. Remember, this is still a flat piece of metal, and we're going to put these bends in here next. I'll show you how I did that. Coming over to the trusty old toolbox here, I had a realization that, hey, that thing's 2 pieces. It's pretty heavy, so I can use that as my bending, my brake press, if you will. And I was able to put these bends right in there, and basically I just had my lines already drawn on there, and I slid them into place like this, got them nice and straight, and I applied some pressure to the top of the box, and I put my bends in there, and it was pretty much that simple. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bends, and that's how I did that piece. Now, if you weren't as lucky and you had, say, some wood, you could make kind of the same shape, measure it around, figure out what the measurements are. It's just going to go underneath, something to hold your sewing machine underneath, and this is what I had laying around. So let's go into the next part, the actual work part that I haven't done yet. Alright, so coming back to the table, you can see I've got it all taped off already, and basically I just went around the machine, left enough space, if you center this here, so that it's pretty close. You've got maybe on the front and back a 1/4 of an inch from side to side. I've got a little bit more play. You can always move it over to the left to keep it flush, but you want to keep some room on the right to be able to unplug it or turn it on and off. Alright, so now that it's taped off, we've got where we need to cut. I'm going to be cutting on the inside of this, and to get it started, I'm going to use my drill because I'm going to be using a jigsaw, and I'll show you that part next. One thing real quick here too is that you want to make sure that there's nothing under the table when you're going to start cutting. So make sure you check under the table, then make sure your work area is clear. I moved the machine and I had some other equipment on here, so got a nice clean work area, and now I'm ready to get started. I'll drill a pilot hole the size or a little bit bigger than the size of my jigsaw blade. Then I'll be able to just slide the jigsaw blade right in and cut right along the line. When I get to the corners, I'm going to have to drill additional pilot holes as well because I won't be able to turn the corner. There's the hole. Now I'll be able to take my jigsaw and slide the blade right in the hole. Fits perfectly, and then I'll be able to saw a straight line just following the inside of the tape. Alright, I started cutting the line a little bit, and now I've got to go ahead and put the holes in the corners. You can't get a nice rectangle without the 90-degree angles, so you need the holes there so you can be able to turn the blade while you're sawing, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So now we got the 3 holes in the corner, and I'm going to continue to saw, and then I'll catch up after I'm done sawing the hole. Alright, so now we got our hole. We'll go ahead and take this tape off, and next we'll clean up the cut, the edges of the cut on the table. You want nice smooth edges, so I'm going to use a file. I've got this file that I think this will work pretty good for this, and I'm just going to round them out, and I'm going to go around the whole area here in this kind of beveling motion and smooth out my cut that I just made. So checking it, it's nice and smooth. I'll check this, it's still rough. So I'll just go ahead and I'll clean that up a little bit. And then I'll just work my way around the whole cut to smooth it out. That way when you're sewing, you've got a nice smooth area to run your material over. You don't have to worry about getting caught up on any edges. So the next thing I want to do is just get some fine grit sandpaper. 220 is what I'm looking for, and that'll finish it off real nice. That'll smooth it out even more, and then I should be ready to go down to the next part. So now it's all smooth and sanded, and we're ready to move on to flipping the table over. Alright, so now the table's flipped over, and we'll grab our pan that I showed you earlier. Fits right over the hole. You can see it from the side here, and then I'll show it from the other side real quick. But then next we'll be able to fasten it onto the table. I'm just going to use some screws, make sure they're not long enough to punch through the wood, and we'll fasten it on and kind of form it to fit so that each distance is equal from the table. We'll get it nice and level. It's still a little malleable, so I'll be able to position it quite well. Keep it level from left to right and right to left, and we should be good to go. So here we go. Alright, so the pan's on here, and it's time to put some screws in there. It's a nice thing. I mean, it's already got some holes in there. I got lucky when I took it off the heater, and it was just the perfect piece for this project. So we'll go ahead and drill some holes in here. I'm gonna have to add a couple of holes, but once again, make sure that your screws aren't too long to go all the way through the table. So you want to make sure you get the proper size screws. And then I'm gonna pop probably about 8 in each side, and I'll do the same thing to the other side. Alright, I'm gonna put the first screw in. We'll kind of hold it in place here, and then we'll be able to work with it. I'll probably put another couple screws in right away. Once you get one side down, then I'll be able to level it out when I'm screwing in the other side. Alright, I just put 5 screws in, and I need some closer to the bend here. It'll make it much more stable, so I'm going to have to drill a couple extra holes that weren't in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I've got all my screws in, and I'm going to take a measurement to see what the distance is on this side so that I can match it up with all the other sides. And then my pan should be pretty level. And now measuring this side, I'm going to get it into position and grab a screw when I got it in the right place, and then I'm going to go ahead and hold that into place so this side will be set. Alright, we'll check the 2 measurements, make sure they match up before I go any further, and then we'll go on and do the other corner. So far so good, and it's nice and level going this way, and I just need to bring this corner towards me a little bit and make sure that this whole pan area stays flat, and I want to make sure that it's level. So it looks good, it's level with the table, and I should be able to bend it into place to get it exactly where I want it. Now we'll check the measurement on this side, and it lines up with the other 2. I just have to flex it a little bit here and bring this towards me, and now I'll put my screw in the other corner once I've got this the right height from the table, and then I'll go ahead and secure this whole other side. That's finished. I've got all the screws in. Now I can flip the table over and see how we are on levelness. Here we are with the pan. It's nice and sturdy. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the machine in here. There's one more step yet, and that's basically taking the piece of wood and putting it on as a base. That'll make it even more sturdy than it is. As you can see with the measurement that I had, let me get down here, you can see that the machine is sitting short exactly the table thickness. So I'm going to go ahead and take the piece of wood that I cut out and use that as a base for the machine to sit on. So just dropping the piece of wood in here, I'm going to screw it in, but first I'm going to do a rough fit just to make sure that it is indeed level, which it is. And I'm going to go ahead and fasten that piece of wood onto the metal. That way this won't rock or move or anything like that while I'm working on it. The pan doesn't have any holes in it, so I'm going to drill some holes in it, and probably 4 or 6. And then I'm going to go underneath and I'm going to attach the piece of wood to the pan, and I'll show you the result. So there you have it. It's nice and sturdy, ready to drop the machine in. The machine fits perfectly. It's perfectly level. I can slide my hand right across here. No more working over the base of the machine. You know, you have that extra 2 inches that you had to sew over, so we don't have to worry about that right now. And you've got a nice level, flat surface to slide your material across while you're sewing. And we also left enough space to slide it to the left where you can get in. It's got air, so the machine can breathe while it's running, and you can reach the power. Well, mission accomplished. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going to move when I'm sewing. I could even turn it on high, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And you'll see in future videos how it works. So thanks for watching the video. This has been a do-it-yourself how to build a sewing table. I'm your host, Purified. Please subscribe if you like what you saw. Leave your comments below, and thanks for watching Burley Sew.